All right, welcome to Speak of the Devils Untimed Down, where Joe and I are going to tackle some of the key developments that popped up over the course of the week since our Tuesday night recording. Joe, obviously, let's start off with the big element here. Jordyn Tyson officially out. When you heard the news that he was officially going to be sitting out against the Cougs, what was your reaction?
That ASU cannot have nice things. They can't keep players healthy. I mean, my goodness, like this injury report stuff has just been a nightmare pretty much all season long. I really, really don't know what's going on. And I don't know if there's anything that is going on, but it's unfortunate. Week after week after week, ASU's injury list is like double or triple the opponents. And that is very concerning. First, it's Sam Levitt. It's been Kyson Brown virtually all year. It's been Xavier Alford all year. It's a number of key players that are expected to be all conference caliber performers, some of which have not even gotten on the field, but with the exception of a few downs. So it is concerning. It's something that could take this season completely off track. And this is a game where that could happen. I'm not certain if that will be the case, but it's the last thing pretty much that you want to hear that Jordyn Tyson is going to be out of this game.
Yeah, it does seem like kind of the 2024 injury luck that ASU had, up until, ironically enough, the Tyson injury near the end didn't rear its head. But I will say, I do think that ASU is a little bit more forthcoming in terms of their injury reports. And, they obviously have a lot of questionable, especially probable. I think Kenny is just maybe going to feel. We saw this week some of those like season ending injuries, the Michael Gardner's, the Plas Johnsons not being listed there. But so we'll see. But he definitely been hit a lot more than last year. Obviously, with Jordyn Tyson being out, this is an opportunity for some of those other guys, Joe, we've talked about week after week needing. Who are some of those pass catching guys in the passing game that you are going to be looking for on Saturday night?
I mean, we'll see if it's turbo time. You got a good game by Hamilton. Just ASU's receivers, whether it's their doing or the strategy, you just haven't seen anyone really feel like they've lumped together more than one consistent game in a backup receiver role. You had Derek Eusebio breaking out against Baylor, and it's really been a touch or two per game since there. Hopefully, last week's performance for Hamilton could be something that propels him into that spotlight. But again, we don't know. Jaron Moss has been available, but a complete non-factor this season. Not holding that against him. That's another injury concern. You're obviously going to see a lot, theoretically, from the tight ends and probably Malik Brown in a receiving role, but someone has to step up, and someone's got to be targeted. And we'll see what they can do. A guy like Malik McLean would be wonderful for him to have a breakout game. For whatever reason, he and Sam Levitt through 7 games have not been able to get on the same page at all. So hopefully that breaks out this week. But again, what you've seen so far this year doesn't instill a great deal of confidence. So it's feeling like a guy like a Hamilton, like a Eusebio there, and using the tight ends a lot. Houston's defense is good in a lot of categories, but not elite or great in any. So you should be able to work around it, but that remains to be seen because Tyson has been such a big part of everything, to say the least, this year.
Yeah, the Jaron Hamilton breakout could not have come at a better time. Hopefully, he's able to parlay that momentum into a big showing on Saturday night. And I think another area here will be Sam Levitt. We saw him kind of have to deal post Tyson at the end of last year after the injury, and he's did pretty well getting the ball to a number of receivers in recent weeks with that ankle injury. It seems like his development in the pocket, as Kenny Dillingham talked about, has really taken a couple steps forward. Flipping over to the other side of the ball, there's been some notable injury report additions on the defensive side. Safeties Miles Rouser and Boogie Wilson have been added there. Jordan Crook, Tate Romney at the linebacker spot, also questionable. I do think that we probably will have a better chance of seeing those linebackers out there. I also think Boogie was looking pretty good from what he saw in practice. What level of concern, if any, do you have right now about those defensive injuries for ASU?
I guess if you're taking it very literally and the fact that they're just at that questionable phase, I mean, there are 2 other categories above there, right? Doubtful and out. So if you're at this advanced point in the week and if the word is still questionable, obviously that creates a measure of doubt, but it feels like you got to reserve some measure of confidence that they'll play. Again, if they're not, if we were a day or so, or when the injury reports came out 2 days or so from the game, and they're not yet at that doubtful or out level, then at least gives you some hope there. It's going to be important for ASU to have all hands on deck. So hopefully those ones that are not out or doubtful don't scale up to a different level by the time the game comes around.
One notable injury report on the Houston side of things, defensive tackle Carlos Allen, which we talked about a great deal on our full podcast episode. He is questionable. He's a very active DT at the center of that defense, 48 tackles. from the interior of the D line is something pretty remarkable. As we wind down here on the Untimed Down, this is going to be an opportunity each week where we're going to kind of revisit our predictions on Tuesday's full episode podcast and see if any of these things that have happened in the recent days have caused us to change. Joe, you had 30-24 ASU. Are you wanting to stand with that or maybe tweak it up a little bit?
So I'll cut that down a bit just because you figure the offense is not going to be rolling as much without Jordyn Tyson in there. I am certainly hoping and thinking that the defense can step up to the challenge and continue what it did last week and forget about the week prior to that, because that was what I was hoping would be the case in that Utah game. The defense understands the offense is limited. We got to step up and we got to make it happen. Obviously, they did not do that on that occasion, but they did that against Texas Tech. So taking that mentality, I feel like the defense can do a little bit more maybe than I thought previously, but the offense does a little less. So still picking an ASU win, but I'm adjusting that down to 24-21.
All right. I'm going to stand pat at my 27-17 prediction. I kind of had the idea that Tyson wouldn't play in there, but I do think that we're going to see a lot of the ground game and some of those ancillary elements for the Sun Devil offense. And like you said, Joe, I really have a lot of confidence in the Sun Devil defense to keep Connor Wigman and company in check. Encourage all our folks, head to our full podcast episode. Joe and I do an extensive breakdown, not just of this Houston game, but also the win over Texas Tech, joined by a Houston insider as well. And Joe and I will be back next week as we recap all things Cougs versus Devils.